All right, let's talk about something that, let's be honest, most of us try not to talk about. But instead of getting all heavy, we're going to look at it from a different angle, a really calm and curious one. We're going to dive into what Buddhism says about death.
So, let me just ask you this. Have you ever found yourself lying awake at night? You know, when everything's quiet and your mind is just drifting after a long day?
And then, boom, out of nowhere, that thought just pops into your head. It's not usually some big, scary, dramatic thing, right? It's more of a quiet, simple question. What happens when I'm gone?
Look, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. It's not weird at all. It's one of the most human things to think about. I mean, we spend so much of our lives trying to stay busy, right? Distracting ourselves, and a big reason for that is to kind of keep these big, deep questions from bubbling up.
So let's just start there. Let's just acknowledge that quiet underlying fear, the one so many of us have but almost never talk about.
But what if we just didn't avoid it? This is where the Buddhist approach is so different. It's really kind of radical. It doesn't run away from death. No, it actually invites us to turn around and look right at it, calmly, with real curiosity.
Okay, so let's build on that idea. Our second point is where things really start to shift. It's this idea of framing death not as some enemy we have to fight.
So if you look here, you can see the two sides. On the left, you've got the stuff we usually think of, right? Death is an enemy. It's a failure. It's the end. But the Buddhist view, well, it flips that completely. It's not an enemy, it's just part of life. Not a failure, but a change. And not the end, but a return. And that idea of a return, this quote just explains it perfectly. Think about a wave in the ocean. It rises up, it has its moment, its shape, and then it falls back into the sea. But here's the question. Was that wave ever really separate from the ocean? No way. And that's the idea here. We're kind of like temporary expressions of something way, way bigger. And this all ties into a really core Buddhist concept called anicca, which basically means impermanence. And if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Everything is always changing. Our thoughts, our bodies, the seasons, the whole world. So from that point of view, death isn't some shocking random event. It's just the final change for this particular body. It's natural. Okay, so if everything is change, that naturally leads to the big question, right? What comes next? So in this next part, we're gonna look at two key ideas that tackle this: karma and a really cool analogy involving a candle flame. Yeah, this is probably the number one question we all have. If death is just a change, a transition, well, a transition to what? The Buddhist answer really centers on this idea of karma. But we have to be super clear here. This is not about some cosmic scoreboard of good and bad deeds. It's not reward and punishment. It's much more like psychological momentum. It's a simple law of cause and effect. The habits we build in our minds, the energy of our actions, they just keep going. They flow forward. Here's a really simple way to think about it. Let's say you spend your life cultivating a habit of anger. Your mind gets used to being restless, agitated. That mental pattern, that habit, it doesn't just poof, disappear when you die. It has momentum, it flows forward. And of course, the opposite is true too. If you spend your life cultivating a habit of kindness or compassion, you create a peaceful mind, and that momentum flows forward, shaping whatever comes next. And that brings us to the other huge question, the one that really gets to the heart of our fear, right? The fear of just not existing. If something continues, will it still be me? This is where that candle flame analogy comes in, and it's brilliant. Just picture it. You take a lit candle and you use it to light a new one. The flame is passed on, right? There's a clear continuity. But is the new flame exactly the same as the old one? No. It's both a continuation and something brand new. So the idea is that there's a continuity of consciousness, but not of a fixed permanent me that never changes. Okay, let's get to our fourth section, which might be the most important one of all. Because after all this big philosophical talk, this whole perspective brings us right back down to earth, to something super practical, how we're living our lives right now. And this, right here, is the absolute heart of it. The whole point isn't to obsess over the moment of death or exactly what comes after. The real focus is on the quality of your life today. So, how do you prepare for a peaceful death? Well, it's not about complicated rituals or anything like that. You prepare for a peaceful death by living a peaceful life. It's that simple. A calm, kind, present life just naturally leads to a calm, peaceful transition. The preparation is the practice.
And what does that practice actually look like? Well, it's surprisingly simple, though, yeah, not always easy. It's about three things, really. Being present, right here, right now, not lost in yesterday or tomorrow, being kind to yourself and to other people, and learning to let go. Letting go of all the stuff we cling to that just causes us pain. And that brings us to our last section. And it's a really powerful, kind of counterintuitive idea. What if instead of fearing death, we could actually befriend it? And by doing that, we could learn to appreciate life even more.
This great little saying from a monk who said, "Remembering death helps us live honestly." The idea is that when we remember our time here isn't unlimited, it cuts through all the noise. It helps us focus on what's real, what's true.
I mean, just think about it for a second. If you truly deeply accepted that your life is temporary, how would that change your day to day? All those little things that annoy you, they'd probably lose their power, right? Maybe you'd stop rushing all the time. Maybe you'd listen, really listen to someone you love. Maybe you'd love more openly and find this incredible joy in just simple things. So the next time that thought about death pops into your head, maybe instead of pushing it away, you can use it as a reminder that this moment, right here, right now, this matters. This breath you're taking, that matters. It's all incredibly precious.
And in the end, that's what this is all about. Buddhism doesn't claim to have all the certain black and white answers that you have to believe. That's not the point. The point isn't certainty, it's peace. It's about offering a way to find peace with one of the biggest, most universal mysteries there is.